Next, downtown, local 6, train to Brooklyn Bridge City Hall will arrive in 2 minutes.
It might arrive in 2 minutes. Hi, everybody. This week's Global Travel Update coming from New York City. I'm actually back after an extended trip around the country as we produced and shot our 7-part miniseries that will be airing this fall on PBS on Hidden Route 66. What an amazing mother road, celebrating its 100th anniversary. We'll have more on that in the next couple of weeks, and maybe a surprise little photo a little bit later in the show. Lots to talk about today. Airfare prices still going up, no matter what's happening with the memorandum of understanding of in Iran. Prices are going up, in some cases, 47% on international flights, over 27% on domestic flights. That's just an average. We're seeing higher fares as well in some markets, with no sign whatsoever of coming down. In the last month, the CEO of Southwest, Bob Jordan, said prices aren't coming down no matter what happens in the Straits. Just this morning, actually last night, Ed Bastian, the CEO of Delta, basically said the same thing. Scott Kirby, the CEO of United, at an investors conference a couple of days ago, basically said, we are fully intending to recoup all of our excess fuel charges that come up since February. Well, how are they going to do that? They're going to recoup it because airfares are going to stay high and go even higher. Now, the funny thing is, it's somewhat ironic, the juxtaposition against the July 4th weekend and the holiday, with AAA predicting record number of people on the roads, every plane full. However, we need to put the plane full part in perspective. Remember, the airlines, after the Iran war started, did some major schedule triage. They canceled not thousands of flights, but not just thousands of flights. They took thousands of flights completely off their schedules, not just for a day or a week, but in some cases for the rest of the year. So there's not going to be a flight that's not full between now and the end of the year. There's maybe fewer of them. And then once again, the law of supply and demand kicks in, higher fares, right? And a higher incidence of people getting bumped from flights that are oversold. I have not been on a flight in the last 10 days where they weren't asking for volunteers to give up their seats. They were oversold. I also haven't been on a flight in the last 10 days that was on time. I'm not exaggerating. Not a single one. And my team members who are on the shoot experienced the exact same thing. Flights delayed to LaGuardia, flights delayed to Kennedy, flights delayed to LA. I was on a flight yesterday from Denver to LaGuardia, late an hour and a half. Now, what was the reason for it? Beautiful sunny day in Denver, beautiful sunny day in New York. It wasn't weather. What was it? Air traffic flow, air traffic congestion. Now, how did that happen? I talked about this last week. I got to talk about it again. Airlines are not scheduling realistically, right? They're scheduling more than the system can handle. Remember, we have 313 air traffic control facilities in the United States. 311 of them are still understaffed. They're exceeding the capacity of these facilities to handle the amount of traffic. So they're scheduling flights they know they can't operate. They know they can't deliver. And they can't deliver the schedules they promise. The schedules are sort of ornamental. Now, I want to share something with you. I'm going to just basically paraphrase something that happened this month, where the Secretary of Transportation called into his office all the CEOs of the airlines, basically saying, you guys need to be sure you can deliver the schedules you're promising. Now, what I didn't tell you was when that actually happened. It happened June 20th of 2022 with then Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. He had the meeting with them then, over 4 years ago. And what has changed? Nothing. Why? No DOT rulemaking. Look, there's a simple solution to the scheduling issue. And I'm not talking about re-regulating the airlines, but I am talking about a basic rule that the DOT can enforce. First, they got to enact it. And here's the rule. Under deregulation, which, by the way, I support, and I've always supported, the government cannot tell the airlines what to charge. They can't tell them where to fly. They can't tell them what kind of equipment to use or how often to fly, right? That's within the airline's purview, and they can't even tell them what kind of aircraft to fly. A little baby one or an A380. But here's what they have to tell them. And you do it as a random lottery, which is fair. And that is, we know at Airport X, whatever airport that is, we have the following takeoff slots every day from 6 a.m. in the morning till 6 a.m. the next morning. And we know at 6 a.m., we'll roll the dice. American, you can have a departure at 6:07. Delta, you can have one at 6:11. United, you can have one at 6:17. Southwest, you can have one at 6:21, and so on throughout the rest of the day. And mix them up. The next hour, Delta could be the first up. And the next day after that, Southwest, etc. Whoever the airline is, right? And if they don't make that departure time, no matter where they're flying or what kind of equipment they're flying, they go into a penalty box. And they may not get out of it for 3 or 4 hours. You know how fast the airlines would adjust their schedule and we wouldn't have delays and cancellations other than weather, which is not under their operational control? Why are the airlines allowed to schedule 40 departures at 8 o'clock in the morning when no runway can handle more than 23 in any given hour? And the big problem yesterday for me and many, many other people, it wasn't just the delay getting out of Denver because of operational issues with air traffic control. It was ground issues on the ground in LaGuardia. There's no place to park the plane, nowhere to cross a taxiway without crossing a runway, which you couldn't cross. So once we even landed, we sat. We were already late. How many times did that happen to you? There should be any surprises there? The airline knows what time these planes push back. They know exactly to the minute what time they're going to land. Here's the problem. They schedule to be competitive and not to be realistic. We need to go to that lottery system, which can be fairly applied. Again, not telling the airlines where they can fly. Nope, not the government's business. Not telling them what to charge. Not the government's business. Not telling them what kind of planes they can fly. Not the government's business. Or even how many times a day they want to go to Chicago, as long as they fit into those slots that they're given. That's the way it's going to have to be. If we don't do that, 4 years from now, I'll be talking about me talking to you today, just like Pete Buttigieg talked to the airline CEOs 4 years ago this week. I just thought I'd share that with you. I kept that just to be able to say that nothing's changed, and it needs to be changed. Okay, a number of other things we want to talk about. The TSA and World Cup. Got to talk about it. First of all, it's a nice, pleasant surprise that all the soccer fans from overseas who weren't scared of coming to the United States and who did come are having a great time. They're being welcomed warmly by every city that they're visiting in the United States, and the fans are behaving. Although we do have to report that they drank Boston out of beer. The Scots did that, but you know what? They were excited to be there. However, the TSA was forced to issue a new alert. The new alert? Somehow, the foreign travelers have discovered ranch dressing. And so the TSA had to issue an alert for all passengers, reminding them there's a 3.4 ounce limit on the amount of ranch dressing you can bring in your carry-on bag. That's airport security for you guys. That's also don't overdo it on the hot wings. Anyway, they've discovered ranch dressing. Go figure. Okay, a couple of other things. When we talk about the fact that there's no passenger bill of rights in this country, you know what's going on in Europe? They've always had European Community Rule 261 for at least the last 5 years that I can remember. And what that rule means, and that applies, by the way, to any airline, including U.S. carriers, flying from, to, or within the European continent. What it says is if the airplane is delayed or the flight is delayed or canceled, they have to give you immediate compensation that's reasonable. They have to basically give you accommodation near the airport, not 8 miles away. They have to provide food and not a $12 coupon for a bad photograph of an Auntie Anne's pretzel, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they have to do it immediately. Okay? That's been in the books for a while. And they do it. Here's the other fun thing. The EC now is doing some other new rule changes, which is going to affect a lot of the low-cost carriers like Ryanair and EasyJet. They can no longer charge you for a carry-on bag. That's right. They're following the U.S. rule. You're allowed a carry-on bag and one personal item on every flight. That's a huge source of revenue for those low-cost carriers, but they were beating people up on it too. And the other thing the EC just passed, every airline must allow families to sit together without charging them for it. And Airlines are looking for other revenue streams. If you'd misspelled your name by a letter or forgot a letter in your name, they would charge you for rewriting the ticket. Now they can't do that either. We're still waiting for that passenger bill of rights in this country, and something tells me we may have to wait 3 or 4 more years for it as well. But just to let you know, you do have rights in Europe, whether you're on a foreign carrier or on a U.S. carrier. Now, will the airlines always volunteer that? No. So just remember this, write it down, EC Rule 261. Once you tell them that, then they know that you know, and help is on the way. All right, so much for that. Now, a couple of little housekeeping notes before you know what? Let's say hi to some folks. Jim and Harriet, they are numero uno today. They're from Richmond, but they're actually visiting Boston today. Linda is saying hi from a very hot and humid Naples, Florida. Priya saying watching from too much rain, Chicago. Although when I was there 2 days ago, guess what? It was great weather. All right, Tisha saying hi from Holly Springs, Georgia. Jeffrey saying, what islands in the Philippines do I recommend for a first-time visitor? Well, you're going to land, first of all, of course, in Manila. But remember, the Philippines are over 8,300 islands. I've been going there since 1978. I'm in love with the place. And I can tell you that my favorite islands are Palawan. Go to Puerto Princesa. You've never seen water that beautiful. Legazpi with a still active volcano, but gorgeous. Then I like to head south down to Mindanao into Zamboanga, the best shrimp you'll ever eat. Take all those 3 for starters. And then, of course, we have many more that you can go to on your second trip and your third trip or your 19th trip. But Palawan, Legazpi, and Zamboanga. All right. Paul is saying greetings from Brooklyn. Michelle B is saying just back from a wonderful time in Seattle, great city, but gas is over $5 a gallon. Hey, welcome to my world. Gas where I live in LA, nearly $7 a gallon. Sue's saying hi from Bellingham, Washington. What's a good place to stay in Thailand with a 1-year-old? I'm going to say something that's going to sound overly positive. Ready? Anywhere. The service, the dedication, the responsibility of service in Thailand is unmatched. I think it's actually impossible to find a bad hotel. For those of you who don't know, I actually lived in Bangkok for 25 years while I was also living in Los Angeles and New York. I built a house there. I have been having a love affair with Thailand since I first went in 1978. And I can only tell you that wherever you go, if you ask the front desk if they can have an English-speaking nanny to help you if you need that, or if they have other sorts of, they're not going to provide necessarily daycare directly. Not every hotel will do that, but they will give you the help that you need, and it's not expensive. Okay, moving right along. Okay, Patrick saying good morning. Where are you, Patrick? In California? And Sue wants to know beaches and some nightlife in February, but where? Let me know a little more specific if you can. Someone just said saying hi from Thailand. I just mentioned Thailand. And Camilla's not in Tucson today. She's in Malibu. And Randy's saying hello from Ann Arbor. Mary Louise, good morning from Tempe. Always glad to see and hear from you. Paul says acts of war excluded from travel insurance protection. If the Iran war is concluded but Israel continues it, can airlines deny compensation? This gets down to a very interesting definition of terms of what constitutes a declared war. And every insurance policy is different in the language, right? For example, it's no different than getting weather protection on insurance. You don't get coverage unless a storm is actually named by the National Weather Service while you have the protection, right? And if your trip is canceled, it has to be because the airports are closed and there's no airline operations happening. It just can't because you don't want to go or because it's raining, right? So an act of war, as you said, Paul, is excluded from the travel insurance protection, but does that mean a declared war? Very interesting question. We need to get to the answer to that, and I don't have it right now. Scott saying hi from Plainfield, Illinois. I'm not seeing any of your shows listed on PBS WTTW Chicago. I thought you had a memorandum of understanding with them. Every PBS station that airs my show airs it on their own programming schedule. So it's not like at 8 o'clock at night, all of America sees the same show on their PBS stations. So you need to go back on their website. You'll find it, number one. Number two, If you can't find our shows on PBS, which I find hard to believe, but you can't sometimes, then go right to Amazon or Apple TV, and that's video on demand. You'll see all of them, right? If you want to watch Travel Detective or Hidden or the Royal Tour, they're all on there. So I hope you get a chance to see that. Paul wants to know, what are the name of the evacuation services that I've recommended in the past? Well, there are a couple of them that I like. One is called MedJet Assist. Travel Guard has a good one. Allianz, Allianz, also has a good one. But the caution that I give you for each of them is you must read the policy language, because there are exclusions in each one of them for perhaps a pre-existing medical condition, an age exclusion, and even a location exclusion, going back to what you were talking about, acts of war. So check those out. And again, you must read the policy language. Don't sign up online. Get someone to walk you through it. Okay. Happy too, whoever that is, says hi from Philadelphia. Oh, and Sue wants to know Thailand. Great beaches? Oh my goodness. I'll give you a couple. You want to go south to Phuket, but near Phuket. I mean, if you really want to be doing it in style, I mean, there's Koh Samui, there's Koh Krabi, there's Koh Phi Phi, Phi. There's a resort down there that I just love. You'll check it out. It's called Pulay Bay, spelled Phulay Bay. It's one of the Ritz-Carlton reserves. You can't do better than that. But check them all out. Okay, let's keep going here. Little housekeeping note, episode 5 of our next season of The Travel Detective, speaking of WTTW in Chicago, is airing now. Here's a sneak preview. This week on The Travel Detective, if you're like me, you believe there are only 2 kinds of airline bags, carry-on and lost. So where do those lost bags end up? A lot of them travel to a small town in Alabama where the bags and their contents are all for sale. I'm going to tell you how they got there and what's in those bags. That's our cover story. Plus, a study that will literally take your breath away, but for all the wrong reasons. I'll tell you which global cities have the worst air pollution. And then, it's the hottest place on Earth, with a nearly century-old gem to cool it all down. Correspondent Carrie Sanders visits the Oasis at Death Valley, featuring not 1, but 2 hotels with a past. I'm Peter Greenberg. All this and more on the next edition of The Travel Detective on PBS. Check your local listings. That's right. Check your local listings. And if you can't find it, you'll find it on Amazon and Apple TV as well. All right, let's scroll down here a little bit. Let me go all the way to the bottom here. Jeffrey wants to know, what islands in Indonesia do I suggest? That's a tougher question. We're talking almost 18,000 islands. Philippines, 8,000 plus. Indonesia, 17 to 18,000. Not all of them inhabited, but they're there. Do me a favor, Jeffrey. Email me, peter@petergreenberg.com, and I'll get you a more definitive answer, because I can't give you just a general answer, because I don't know what you want to do when you get there and how much time you've got to spend. Sometimes getting from one island to another can take you a couple of days. They don't necessarily have air service between those islands. So email me. I'll help you out. One more thing. We talk about airport and runway capacity. This will get you concerned. Federal aviation regulators have now flagged, are you ready for this? 34 separate California airports for a runway collision risk. It's exactly what I've been talking about. 34 airports. All right, they flagged them. Now, what are they going to do about them? Right? Just get out a measuring stick. You'll know exactly how much you can accommodate, and then make a rule. At any given time of the day, this is how many planes we can allow in here. And guess what that's going to get you to? The lottery system I just gave you. Okay? There's that. Plus, there's one more thing that the airports don't like you to know about, and the airlines don't want you to know about it, because it requires them to staff it up a little more. But at most major airports, there's something called the penalty box. And when you see a terminal that's sort of like round with gates going like this, what do you think's behind every jetway where they park the plane? A penalty box. So, we don't have to be obsessed with jetways. If we land, and especially those of us who land at airports where we have to make a connection, what's to stop the airport or the airline from making it available to do what? To make the penalty box available, right? The penalty box available means The plane pulls behind the plane that's already parked at the gate. You come down using forward stairs. Your bags will connect. You'll walk into the terminal and then go back upstairs to connect to your flight. You're not going to sit there waiting for that other plane to push back and miss your connection. Somebody has to tell me why they don't do that. Now, the only reason why they wouldn't do that is an airport's affected by severe weather in the winter with snow and ice. I get that. But on a clear day, when you've got some congestion or possible congestion, one way to deal with that is the penalty box. Anybody listening who works for an airport or an airline, let me know what you think. It's not a difficult concept to embrace. Okay? All right. Jim and Harry want to know, are there any new rules coming soon to the TSA? I'm going to give you a qualified yes. They're starting to install new state-of-the-art scanning machines, 3D scanning machines at a number of U.S. airports. They're training their agents in it as well at the TSA, which means that sometime between now and March of next year, you won't have to take your laptop out and maybe, your battery chargers or anything else metallic or your cell phone. You'll be able to go through. That'll speed up the process. The one thing they're not instituting yet, even though I want to emphasize this, the technology is already available. It's been tried at other airports around the world, and it works like a charm. It's the liquids rule. The new 3D scanners that are available to be purchased now by airports around the country and by the TSA have the capability of high tech to be able to distinguish between a can of Diet Coke and Semtex explosives, which then allows you to be able to bring on your lotions, your potions, your hair cream and your perfume and everything else without having to check it. And there wouldn't be a limit, an unreasonable limit on the amount you could bring in through carry-on. Okay? But the TSA has not given us a date that they're going to implement that. Whereas it's a little silly since the technology is already available and it's been proven. They tried it already at the UK airports in London. Works like a charm. So I'd like somebody from the TSA to explain to me why they're not implementing that now. Is it a conspiracy of airport retailers? Do we still want to buy $12 bottles of water? Not me. In any case, the answer to your question, Sue, is to Jim and Harriet. That is, they are going to start installing those other 3D scanners, which will alleviate at least part of the problems with having to take out your electronic devices. And Sue says the airfare has really gone up from Seattle to Orlando to over $1,000. That's coach. That's not a 27% increase. That's almost a 250% increase. And it's that crazy, right? And don't think about redeeming your mileage this summer because all the planes are full. They didn't want to redeem the mileage for you before. Now they're really not going to redeem the mileage. It's all about revenue generation, of which the airlines are now excelling. Okay. I know what I want to do now. And that is the photo of the week. And you know who the winner is? It's me. You know where this photograph was taken? They say every picture tells a story. Look at this bench. I'm sitting at Spencer's Grill right on Route 66 where we were filming in Missouri. This is in Kirkwood, Missouri. And it's a story bench where you're encouraged to sit there and share your story with somebody else, which is what I've just done with you today on Global Travel Update. So I thought I had to run that picture. You'll see that grill and many other things in Missouri, not to mention Illinois, Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, California, as we debut the 7-part series in November, which of course is the actual anniversary of Route 66. Its 100th birthday on PBS, Amazon, and Apple TV+. Now, a couple of housekeeping notes. Our radio show this weekend coming from Chula Vista, California. So stay tuned for that. That's this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And of course, if you can't get it on your local station, go right to our website, petergreenberg.com. We stream it live. I hope you'll get a chance to catch it. And for those of you who didn't get a chance to ask your questions today, you know how to do that. Peter at petergreenberg.com. We'll either answer it on the air live on the radio show, or of course, we'll do it again on GTU next week from another remote location somewhere around the world. And for those of you who are sitting around wondering whether you should buy your airline tickets now for the rest of the summer, the answer is you better, because airfares are going up between 1% and 3% every 5 days, whether you like it or not. And I see nothing to indicate they're going to come down soon, no matter what memorandum of understanding is in place or talked about. It's just not going to happen, right? And that's sad. So travel anyway, reallocate the funds, Don't put it on a layaway plan. Don't pay it with a credit card unless you plan to pay your credit card bill in full every month, because that's going to get you in trouble. But I know we won't be denied when it comes to our travel, and I won't be denied when it comes to Global Travel Update. So I will see you next week, everybody. Have a great rest of this week. Have a great weekend. And I'll talk to you way before July 4th. Bye, everybody.
This is a 207th Street bound A express train. The next stop is 168th Street.
And clear at the closing door.